Welcome, everyone, to episode 3 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I am Brian Goulet.
And I'm Drew Brown.
And we're here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. In today's show... Oh, thank you. I'm very proud of myself for getting through all that. That was scripted, and that's literally the only part that's scripted. In today's show, we're going to be talking about your feedback, the new Namiki Yukari Tanuki, as well as new Diplomat ink. Hello, new ink. We also have some Dynamite Q&A questions that I'm actually very excited about. Drew's got a mind-melting hypothetical for you, and we're going to take a quiz about 1950s school supplies. So, yeah, it's going to be good. So you better stick around for this one. Oh, yeah, we are. It'll be an adventure. So let's kick it off by talking about some of your feedback.
So a lot of folks, Brian, appreciated our hot take segment from the last episode, which it kind of became more of a soapbox segment, but that was still cool, still well received. A lot of folks expressed their appreciation for your take on handwriting judgment and how folks should be encouraged to enjoy their handwriting for what it is and just to be in the writing and not compare yourself. You know, comparison is the thief of happiness, as they say. So that was well received, and I personally appreciated it as well.
It is my honor.
Yeah, solid evaluation. A lot of excitement as well in regards to getting this put into a podcast format, which we'll have an update for you later, but people want it, so yay for that. And Brian, remember when you were talking about that pelican that you couldn't remember the name of? It was Ocean Swirl.
Yep.
That was it. So that also got brought up in the comments. We also got brought up in the comments that I mistakenly mentioned Sean Hayes as being in 2.5 Men, but really he's the guy from Will and Grace. So yeah, way off on that. They don't look at all alike. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then my friend Josh Yates on YouTube said, I love how Brian just enjoys seeing people be happy and excited, which is great because I'm always happy and excited. But what was even better was the reply to Josh's comment on YouTube. Graham replied to Josh and said, happiness can be more contagious than COVID-19 and a lot more pleasant. So with the whole world still being a smoldering mess, then I'm all for a few smiles and chuckles. Watching grown men geek out over tubes of metal and plastic that splash colored water onto pulped wood triggers the same geekiness in me. It's a shared secret, a knowing nod and a nudge. We get you. Keep enjoying what you do.
That's fantastic.
I feel very seen right now.
Yes, I feel understood.
Very seen. I love it. I just love that.
Tubes of metal and plastic.
That's it, right?
I'm a big fan, Drew. You know from working with me for a decade now. I'm a big fan of like jokingly oversimplifying things.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, we're an online pen retailer. All we have to do is buy pens and sell them for more than we bought them for. And like that's all it is. But of course, it's obviously way more complicated than that. I think we usually
that's Brian's business book.
Yeah.
It's a pamphlet.
I think we usually call them like shiny ink sticks or something like that.
Yeah.
Like when we talk to our photographers, I'm like, well, we got another, round shiny object for you to photograph today. Of course, it's all in the nuances. It's in the details. But yeah, big fan of that. I found some good feedback too. This is from Aris on YouTube. So we talked a lot about the Lamy 2000 last one. Yeah, like obviously we're fanboys of that. So Aris said, the Lamy 2000 was supposed to be my workhorse pen until I realized I didn't like my workhorse to look like a workhorse. That's a little rough, okay? But, I would say it's that Bauhaus, right? It's that balance between utility and design. And I think it's more timeless.
Yes.
So that's why it stood the test of time. More than 5 decades, this pen has remained largely unchanged. And
right.
Still looks contemporary.
Yeah, plain chocolate ice cream might not be most people's favorite, but everybody likes it. It's chocolate. Great. No one's going to, or vanilla for that matter. Not to say this is just chocolate or vanilla. This is better, but,
French vanilla, maybe?
From Mr. Goulet, la French vanilla.
That's right. Another good feedback from Archivist17. yeah, more Rachel would be cool. Short, simple, to the point. I agree.
Can't disagree with you there. Yeah.
Personally, as having been actually, I think I'm probably the human in the world that's had the most interaction with Rachel in her life now, since we have now been together longer than we haven't, which is kind of crazy to think about because we met when we were 17. Like, I spent more time with Rachel than her parents have at this point. Isn't that weird to think about?
That's really weird.
Weird, right? Anyway, big fan of hers. I'll try to bring her on, but...
Oh, yeah, she'll be back.
Drew and I are having a hard enough time just getting a handle on this whole thing ourselves, which, little fun fact here, Drew and I just recorded half of this episode, and then we realized that, I'm not going to say who, one of our SD cards was not properly formatted and had actually filled up, and so we had to do a second take. So you're actually seeing the second take, so the first half of this should be better, more rehearsed.
Yeah.
And I did mess up the intro on the first.
Great.
I did mess up the intro on the first one, and I'm very happy that I nailed it on the second. And now that's what's going to live in infamy. Anyway, I told Drew, don't feel bad. I've totally recorded. If you remember the old Q&A back in the day, which I did solo, I definitely recorded on at least 3 occasions that I can remember. Recorded the entire Q&A without turning my microphone on. So literally no audio, just a silent video of me talking for an hour straight. And I realized it and had to hit the record button again and do the entire thing again, back to back, as if I hadn't done it the first time. So, it happens to the best of us.
Thank you.
No judgment there. Now, I got some harsh feedback, which is going to be a little raw, but I like getting all kinds of feedback, good, bad, otherwise, especially if it's, very genuine, which this one clearly is. This came in privately through our customer care team, actually. So I'm going to keep it anonymous because I don't know if the person wants it to be shared or not. I would assume not. So this individual said, I'd like to provide feedback on the new Pencast format. I find the videos interesting and relevant when Brian and Drew discuss pens or pen-related information. However, that doesn't seem to happen very much at all in this new format. The 3 Pencast videos I've seen so far have been full of what appear to be private jokes that I don't find funny. The topics are off the wall and have nothing to do with pens. The guys are constantly talking over each other to the point of creating a chaotic atmosphere. Unfortunately, I often find myself losing interest and fast forwarding 5 or 10 minutes at a time to get to something that's actually relevant to my interest in fountain pens. That's harsh. And we're not done. The new Pencast format is disappointing. More and more, I leave the Goulet Pen Company YouTube channel and go to Goldspot, The Pen Habit, or others for information about fountain pens. Whew. Okay.
All right.
Well, honestly, Drew, we've been doing this for well over a decade now, and we have pretty much seen and heard it all. So stuff like this, it gets my attention, but I'm not like losing sleep over it, right? The thing I do appreciate about it is very honest and genuine. Like, yeah, I'm personally, and because you've been in customer service for a long time and been here for a long time, I would always rather receive negative feedback directly than not hear anything at all. Because if people don't care, they will just go away and not say anything and hate you and talk bad about you to other people online, whatever, if they even care enough to do that. So the fact that somebody felt this strongly enough about it to actually watch them all and then give us the feedback on it, that to me is actually a really good sign. So it's tough, but I feel like it's an honest opinion.
Yeah. And you know what? There's a ton of content out there, whether like you're talking about Tom and Matt, like this person was, or the numerous other folks out there. There's a flavor for everybody, and we're not going to be everybody's flavor. There are plenty of people that I do not like. Trust me, there are plenty of people that just rub me the wrong way. There's lots of content out there that's just not the right fit for me. And that is fine. We don't have to be the right fit for everybody. Just like the Lamy 2000 might not be the right fit for everybody, though it should be.
Deadpan. I'm totally right with you on that. I think this sounds a little bit like maybe unmet expectations. This is not meant to be like an informational packed, how-to tutorial style video. We have tons of those. We've done over 1,800 videos on this YouTube channel. That's a lot of frickin' pen videos.
It is.
Honestly, Drew and I sometimes just get a little loopy, a little bored maybe from answering the same things over and over again. So it's kind of fun for us to just talk about some random things. And just like COVID life right now, I kind of like just having fun and like people get to watch us just having a good time, and then we'll put in plenty of pen related information in there as well. But this particular Pencast is meant to be less structured, less formal, that kind of thing. So if that's what you're expecting, then I'm sorry that you have a different expectation than what we do for producing this. So this is meant to be, again, in a podcast style where it's very long formatted. We have bulleted notes, and we actually do have quite a bit of structure that we spend time putting this together, but it's still new and we're still kind of evolving it. So, it's going to change, and feedback like this actually helps us quite a bit to know when we're hitting the mark and when we're not. And we will take all of that into account. Now, the one thing in here that I did want to talk about was talking about us talking over each other, which I think is legit. Anytime you have two people talking about something unscripted, you're going to have some overlap in talking. We're trying to get through that. We had that in Right Now. We did 200 episodes of that. We talked over each other all the time, especially you bring three of us on there.
Especially when we first began, is what I was trying to say. We got better.
Yeah, so
as
when you
we did more.
Okay, now we're just being jerks.
I expect it to improve.
Especially when we get Rachel in there too, and there's like three of us. Oh man, every time we would have the three of us on there, we would get feedback about talking over each other. It just happens. It's really hard. Like, do it. Record yourself talking with somebody else for an hour straight and try not to talk over each other. It's impossible. So I am sorry about that, but that's just part of the nature of having a conversation. Maybe just because it's in a video format, it seems different for some reason, but when you're in a group talking to two people, they're going to talk over each other and your brain just kind of filters that out. Anyway, we're going to get better at that. We're going to practice it. We're scripting it out. We're finding a groove. So just give us some time on that. I think it'll get better. Plus, sometimes there's a delay in the video that we're streaming to each other. So we're recording this on our own separate cameras, and then we're streaming to each other as well, so we can talk and hear each other. But there's technical stuff that we're working through as well. Once we're in person, maybe that'll get better. But anyway, yeah. So that kind of covers that. Honest feedback, a little bit tough to hear, but still, I want to balance that out now. A little yin to the yang, or yang to the yin. This comes from possibly one of the funniest, YouTube handles that I've seen in a while. Unkempt Platypus had some feedback. Said, "What an absolute delight to listen to / watch. I love the nerding around and all the awesome fountain pen facts thrown in. As a pretty recent fountain pen user, this is great. Also, happy to have this on YouTube. Otherwise, I would have not have seen Drew's glorious shirt." And I believe this came from the last Pencast. So he was talking about your Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that would have been the one.
So,
I mean, it's a pretty amazing shirt.
You got a lot of comments about that shirt. I'm hoping that I get some compliments on my Pizza Planet.
That's a winner. Are they going to, is that a pocket right there?
It's a pocket, yeah.
Okay, good.
So
good.
the aliens are being pulled out of the pocket from the claw. Isn't that cool? Anyway.
That is nice. This is actually an incredible shirt with Jack on fire and all this other stuff happening as well. Yeah.
Nice.
It's subtle. Not as out there as the Ghostbusters one, but it's...
There you go. Dig it. You're getting known for your style, Drew.
Well.
Next, let's move on to what's happening.
What's happening?
Drew, what have you been up to?
Well, Brian, did some outside-y stuff this weekend with the gardening attempt. It got cold here in the Richmond, Virginia area, and I might have put some stuff outside a little bit too early. So I brought in a lot of things that I was pretty certain would remain outside due to their largeness and the quantity of them. So my wife was very patient with me as I brought those into our living room for a couple of days so that they could be warm and cozy. I did that.
What area are we in here? Because you were really uncertain about that in the last one.
No, we're in Zone 7A. We're in Zone 7A. I feel more certain about that now. Yeah. So we are in it's called the hardiness zone, the agricultural hardiness zone 7A, and our last frost date, every zone has one, I believe is April 15th. So it shouldn't be treacherous after that point, but we kind of had a late coldness this past weekend. As you know, it's been chilly recently. The mornings have been not pleasant.
It's gotten real.
So, yeah.
Hardiness. So, anyway, is that heartiness, like with a T, or is that with a D?
No, hardy.
Heartiness.
Hardy.
Hardiness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah. Literally. Didn't know that was a scale.
It's a thing. Got to know your hardiness zone. And because it also tells you like what plants won't work in your zone. Like you buy seed packets, it'll say like, all right, zones 5 through 9 or something like that. So,
well, there you go. I have a black thumb. I can kill any plant. It's kind of a gift.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure there's a job for you somewhere. But
Yeah, it would be.
That was pretty much it.
Recording pen videos. That's my job, not planting things. Anyway,
Nice. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I got some other organic material that I'm gonna fill my raised bed with, logs and stuff. So, yeah, the garden thing.
nice. And you did some chainsawing too. I know you brought that up last time.
I did borrow my brother's electric chainsaw, a little Ryobi thing, and I was surprised at how well that did, because I was taking down this kind of weed tree that I have to fill that raised bed with, with logs, because the soil, you only need like, 1.5 feet of soil. So otherwise you're going to spend a ton of money on nice soil. So you fill the bottom of it with, other more organic material like logs and leaves and branches and stuff. It's actually called hugelkultur. It's a German term for creating a bio whatever at the bottom of a raised bed. And so I started doing that, but got to play around with the little electric chainsaw. I was surprised at how quiet and functional it was. So yeah.
I'm a big fan. If I can put a battery on a small like yard tool instead of a small engine, I will do that any day of the week. As long as it like performs adequately. Yeah. Because especially with ethanol gas, like it just clogs up all these little carburetors and stuff. And it's such a beast to maintain them. So I have like one gas station in Richmond that sells ethanol-free gas. So Virginia, as a standard, for those of y'all that don't know, has 10% ethanol in all of the gasoline, which is fine for larger vehicles like cars and stuff. But for small engines, it's just the worst. So I actually go out of my way to drive across town and get ethanol-free gas, which is much more expensive too, by the way. But yeah.
That surprises me a little bit. Like you do a lot of work outside, and I always thought like folks that did it a lot were like purists, like gas, the big powerful stuff. And
I mean, it used to be that way, but I feel like in the last 3 to 5 years, like the battery technology has improved. So where
That's very true.
You can legitimately like use an actual, like I have an 18-inch bar chainsaw that actually holds up pretty well with like a 40-volt battery. Yeah, it actually will. I can bring that thing out, cut some trees down, and that's all I need. Now, if I got like a 20-inch diameter tree, okay, that's where the gas really comes in handy. Yeah. But anyway, I love chainsaws. I have 4 chainsaws. That's, I mean, you see my property. I have a lot of trees here. They fall down all the time. I got to cut them up, so it's kind of a thing. So for me, I'll go ahead and move myself on since I can talk about chainsaws all day long. Yeah. So last week I was basically a hot mess, as was the title of our show. I'm mostly healed from all my ails. I have a little bit here. I don't know if you can see, but I had really bad poison ivy here. It's mostly healed. It's much better. Little fun fact. So if you have a bad reaction to poison ivy, normally they give you like a prednisone or an oral steroid. However, I had recently had my second COVID shot. And when you have a vaccine that is causing your immune system to work overdrive, like vaccines do, if you use a steroid that is an immune suppressant, it can actually counteract the effects of the vaccine to the degree which they don't quite know because it's so new and not well researched. So I was basically told by my doctor, well, I can definitely make your poison ivy better, but it might lessen the effects of the vaccine. I was like, nope, let's just work around that. So I probably suffered a little longer than I had to, but I did it for a good cause. So that was part of why my body was such a mess between the pollen that we had, the bike wreck that I had, all the various things, but I'm all healed from that. I'm doing good. And, this weekend I was out there. We have a little creek that runs through our property, and I was building some bridges across the creek, which, was a lot of fun. I don't know. I think something about bridges in the middle of the woods is just so like magical, because you're just like, it's like if you're going hiking or you're going mountain biking or whatever, and you just like come across, you're like, there's this like structure, like what little wood nymph like built this bridge so that I don't have to run through this mud.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And so I got to be a little wood nymph building,
that's awesome.
Bridges across my creek. That was kind of fun. And then also, a couple of days this week. So we're recording this on Monday. We would record it on Wednesday to be published on Friday, but I'm actually going to be at a 2-day virtual conference for Small Giants. So we got this Small Giants Award last year, which is based off the book Small Giants by Bo Burlingham. Look it up if you're interested in that, but very fitting to our culture. So I'm doing the 2-day virtual conference. It would normally be in person, but COVID life, so here we are. So I'll be looking at a computer like all day for the next 2 days. So had to shift a lot of things around in my schedule, but we still wanted to record the Pencast. So making it happen on a Monday morning, and definitely have a case of the Mondays today with the recording. That's okay. But that's okay. It's still going to be a good week. And as of when this publishes on Friday, it's actually my birthday. So I will be turning...
Happy future birthday.
Thank you, Drew. I'm going to give my future self some advice and say, have a good birthday. I don't really know what to say, but you know.
There you go.
I always joke because Drew's birthday is like a month ahead of mine. So I get like 1 month to talk about how much he's falling apart and aging and stuff like that. And he gets to talk about how young and naive I am, you know.
If only. I remember back when I was 36.
That's right. Yeah. I'm living it up, man. I like feel like I'm spring chicken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Felt like I had the world in the palm of my hand.
Yes, indeed.
And then it slipped through my fingers.
That's right.
Right at 37.
That's right. It all fell apart. Well, I got a couple days left, but as of when everybody sees this, I'll be there. I don't make a big deal about birthdays, but hey, wish me a happy birthday. That's cool in the comments, I guess. Why not? I like it. I don't not like getting birthday wishes. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to Company updates.
There we go. What's up with tell us what's going on with the Company, Brian.
I'm going to tell you what's going on with the Company. First of which, you know, we have an audio podcast now, mostly. So I will be honest and say that I am riding the struggle bus on the technical side of the podcast. I feel like audio podcasts, I've been doing it for like 10 years, but I don't feel like I've gotten any better or any more knowledgeable of it. I know we all have things like this. It was the same thing with like financial accounting. It's the same thing with trying to learn foreign languages. I always feel like I barely understood enough to get by, but I was never confident about it. And if anything ever went wrong, I was completely confused and mystified. And that's where I'm at right now with this audio podcast. So I got the podcast established. We're using Fireside, which is a way to host it and also to set up the feed to like stream through things like Apple Podcasts and Google Play and Stitcher and, you know, SoundCloud and all these things. But it's supposed to like just kind of you set it up and it works. But I set it up and it's kind of not working so well. So now I don't quite know. I have to like I set it all up and I'm like, great, it should be working. Oh, wait, no, the Apple Podcast search index denied our feed. I'm like, the heck does that mean? Why did it deny it? What's wrong with that? And so,
it's because you're inappropriate.
I guess.
So
it gave me no context. I literally just got an email that said it had been denied. Follow up with our customer service to find out more. And I'm like, okay. And I just haven't like dove in yet and done that. And now I'm going to be like out the next 2 days and so I don't know, whatever. So I still need to get that worked out. Sorry.
We need to check to see if it's anywhere else, like on Spotify or on Stitcher or wherever else people use their podcasts.
Yeah, it's all confusing. Like some of them you have to go.
That no one else uses.
Some of them you have to go to the individual place and file the thing. Other ones it's like syndicated automatically. It's all a bit of voodoo to me, and so I need to spend more time on it. But anyway, we do have the audio podcast, but it's not easily searchable, findable yet. So I'm working on it. So. Thank you, everybody, for your patience there.
Is there a way we could include like a direct link to that in the in the YouTube thing?
Yeah, we have a website for the podcast, so you can still listen to it. It's still published.
Oh, okay.
It's just like I'm having trouble with some of the syndication of the podcast, so we can link to it into the YouTube description at a minimum. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. Also, we had Earth Day last week, which is cool. Drew, you did a great job on Instagram stories, talking about all of our various things. Yes, Drew was like...
I only hurt myself once.
He was like climbing in and out of the recycling bin. And then like random members of our team would just like walk by and be like, has Drew lost it? Like, what is going on here? But it all came together well.
Brandon saw me inside of that thing and he was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, anybody looking at you like crawling in and out of something, they'd be like, what are you doing? Oh, yeah. Well, it is Drew. Okay.
This was one of the outtakes of, I don't know if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, there we go. That was on the timer. I had slipped.
Hey, it's all right. You know, you made it work. So that was cool to feature some of the things that we do recycling wise, because we do care about the earth. We also have a new team member, Armand, on our fulfillment team.
Yay!
Yeah, so he's actually been a temp with us for a few months now, but he is now a full-fledged member of the Goulet team, which is pretty cool. So glad to have him on. We're working on getting his picture up and stuff on the website, so not sure if we'll have that up by Friday when this broadcasts, but we'll have it up soon. So very happy to have him on. And then also in the personal message last week, we talked about some UK tax stuff. I won't get into all the details, but long story short, the UK came out with some new regulations about VAT tax. And basically they dictated that everybody in the world has to now charge for VAT tax and file it with the UK, which, if you can imagine, is complicated. And the technical side of it is not yet fully in place, even though the legislature dictates that we are required to do such things. So we have done everything that we know to do to be able to still operate as normal, shipping to the UK, but we basically can't comply. And we're not big into breaking the rules. So basically, because we can't comply, we can't ship to the UK for the things that comply with this new regulation. So basically, if you have an order going to the UK from us, from anyone really, under $200, there's these special taxes what we're supposed to collect and then remit through the UK, whatever, commercial service or whatever. And we can't do it. So we are no longer able to ship under $200 orders to the UK until we can figure that out. So it kind of stinks. We would like to be able to offer that, but we can't, literally, because of just limitations that are there. So that kind of stinks, never feels good, but this is the era we live in right now. There's a lot of countries that are coming out with these types of things. The EU is working on one for this summer that's probably going to be even more disruptive and terrible to have to comply with, and is very, very cumbersome for small companies. And so we are going to see how that goes. But the only way around it right now is to only ship things over $200. So more details on that. If you're interested, you can reach out to our team. We can get you details, but that's a thing. All right. So that was kind of a bummer to leave out, but let's transition hard away from that, Drew. What is on your desk, my friend?
Well, Brian, I can always talk about pens, but I thought I'd do something different this time because in the mail this week, I got a package from the Netherlands because I splurged and bought a bottle of Ackerman ink, which has that really cool filling mechanism. It's kind of like one of those mouthwash bottles where you squeeze it and then there's that like little cup at the top. So it's really well known for that, but I wanted to get this one because it's Stephen Brown's ink, the SBRE Brown. And my last name's Brown too, so hooray for Brown.
Hey-oh, Brown Brothers. And
I just wanted to support him. He's a, super prolific, well-respected, long-running pen YouTuber and blogger. So respect to him. Wanted to give him a bit of appreciation there and enjoy that nice brown ink. But it also got me thinking, Brian, about cool bottles and bottles that make it easy for you to fill your fountain pen. And I realized that I have this guy on my desk at all times. And this is obviously a Namiki bottle. And it's one of those bottles, Brian, that comes with that little cup cone insert thing in the actual bottle itself. So I can't take it out without, I think I have some, here we go. I got some tweezers. So the thing here. Oh no,
it's gonna be filled with ink, so be careful.
Hey, okay, yeah, here we go. It's got a cup there. It's not coming out all the way. I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, it's got a cup. It's got holes in it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm being careful. It's got holes in it, so when you tip it upside down, the cup fills with ink, and it makes it super easy to fill your pen, even if there's not a lot of ink left in the bottle. So I fill this thing with Noodler's Black, which is my go-to ink, and I just use it all the time because it's just a cool bottle, and it makes it easy to fill. And I just thought I'd share that with you because it's we sell these empty. They're super cheap if you buy an empty bottle, and there are other bottles that you can do similar things with, like Noodler's bottles. You can buy the Ink Miser, that is also super cheap, and it's like a cup that fits in the Noodler's bottle that turns it into basically the same thing as Namiki. And there are some others too. Like I want to say that does Platinum do that with some of their inks? I
can't remember if Platinum has. I know Sailor has had some in some of their gentle inks in the past.
Yeah, they're gentle inks.
I don't know if they still do it. I feel like they might have moved away from it. I'm not sure. I know the Twisby spare, glass bottle, the Diamond 50 bottle, that has it in there. But yeah, not as many have it as I feel should. I would love to see it in basically every bottle. I think Rower and Klingner maybe has a separate insert that you can get. The thing I will say,
Drew,
Drew,
don't sell it.
Well, no, I don't think we sell it, but I know they made it. So Drew, I know you mentioned that we sell those Namiki empty bottles. They're not something that we can buy empty. So I will say that if by mentioning it here and then everybody goes to the site and buys them all. Basically, we only get them from doing ink samples and then we have the bottle left over. So it's pretty limited supply. So, that you probably won't see them regularly available ever.
No, because honestly, there's only blue and black, and I think maybe blue black. Do we even sell blue black bottles? No, just two inks. So basically,
colors.
You need to wait until we need more samples, and that's not a super fast selling ink. Yeah, no,
exactly. What I've been up to though, so I did get a video up on the PilotCon 70 finally.
Hey.
I mentioned last time that I was working on it. Had to work on it some more. It ended up being many hours of work and research and contacting Pilot and getting information back and forth. But I'm super happy with the outcome of that video. It was a lot of time and effort. And it was one of those things that you would just never know. I mean, it's a 13-minute video on a converter, just on a converter change. So it's
it's not even a new product really. It's an alteration.
So I hold that in my mind when I do get feedback about y'all don't talk about pens. I'm like, I literally recorded a 13-minute video on a converter change. We're still producing plenty of nerdtastic pen-only video footage. We're just balancing it out with some other fun stuff. But I mean, you would never guess that it took me, I don't know, easily probably 10 hours to prepare and get the information I needed to have an accurate video. And it's the kind of thing it's like anything else. It's like if you're painting a room in your house or whatever, it's all in the prep work. And then the actual production of the thing is goes smooth as long as you do all the prep work properly. And that's what I was at for that. And then the other thing I've been playing with is my Pilot Custom 823. So,
old friend.
Yeah, an old friend of mine. I've had this for years. It's been a popular pen. I feel like it's gotten a little more popular every year for the last 5-6 years, probably. Great pen. I love that vacuum filling mechanism, though it's not for everybody. And I just, I love the way that it writes. Big fan of Pilot nibs. And because it's vacuum filling, it's a little bit more effort to clean it out. And I usually cycle through my ink so quickly. I tend to not maybe use some of the tougher to clean out pens as much on a regular basis. So this one was nice because I revisited why I've loved this pen so much and kind of reacquainted myself with it, which is always nice because Drew, we've been doing this for a while. You will use a pen for a while and then you'll be using other things. And you kind of always hold in your memory yeah, I love the Pilot Custom 823 or whatever it is, Noodler's Ahab or something that, you may have used a long time ago, but you're like, now that I think about it, it's actually been 3 years since I've even used this pen. Do I still actually like it that much? Or do I just think that I remember that I like it that much? So reacquainting myself with it, I'm like, oh yeah, I do really like this pen. So that's always kind of fun. It's like visiting an old friend.
I love it.
All right, Drew, now let's get to some new stuff.
Nice.
I was hoping you would do it,
but no, you did it great. That was fantastic.
I did okay. I feel like you're the voice guy.
New stuff.
There you go. Ira, crazy Ira, and the douche. All right, new products. Let's talk about the Namiki Yukari Tanuki, which is a Japanese raccoon dog, which is a real thing. It sounded to me like something that my kids would make up.
Well, it's not. It's not like a real thing.
Yeah, it's an animal. It's an actual animal. You can look it up. It's on Wikipedia.
Wait, really? I thought it was like a mythological creature.
Well, it's also a talisman, but it is based off a real animal. Seriously, look it up. Wikipedia, Japanese raccoon dog.
Are they out there now? They're alive?
Yeah.
They're in zoos?
Yes, you can see them. They are alive and well, running around. They look exactly like what you would think. They look part dog, part raccoon. They're brown.
You're not kidding.
They run around like dogs, but they have the face of a raccoon. It's kind of an interesting looking animal.
I did not know that.
Yeah, right. So there you go. Learned a little bit of stuff, a little bit of culture.
Well, I won't be Googling this too much because as we know,
it's got some fun things. This is a very clickbaity kind of thing. So I'll lead into what this pen is all about. First off, it's Namiki, which is, for those of you, Namiki, Pilot, same company, same kind of thing. Namiki is their higher end pens. So that's what you see all the Maki-e stuff, right? Urushi. So this is going to be one of their higher end pens, but it still uses all the same cartridges, converters, a lot of similar nibs and stuff like that. This comes from the same place. So Tanuki are said to be talisman because they bring prosperity and good luck. These legendary creatures are significant in Japanese folklore, art, and sculptures throughout history, and is reputed to be mischievous and joyful. So maybe like the mischievous is the raccoon part and the joyful is the dog part. I don't know. Tanuki are an important figure to business owners because tanuki welcome prosperity with the figure's 8 essential attributes, which are called the 8 blessings. So I feel like this is a BuzzFeed like clickbait article. It's like, check out the tanuki's 8 blessings. Number 8 will shock you.
Yeah, but it's for real this time.
But it's kind of true.
Like,
number 8 is kind of like...
Number 8 is very shocking. Yes.
So because we don't have a super established audience yet for this pencast, I'm going to err on the side of like thinking about like, you know, families with young children listening to this. So I'm not going to get all into it. It's not like inappropriate, but it's just kind of like, oh, wow, there that is. Okay. It's just a little offbeat. So, you know, again, I am not the most like cultured person. And because this is a part of, you know, Japanese folklore and stuff, I don't want to like offend or anything. So I'm just going to like kind of mention it. Like we've got it up on the website, but I'll at least talk about what the blessings are. I won't talk about the thing that represents those blessings because that's the part that, you know, maybe some people might be like, oh, what? Okay. So the 8 blessings are protection from hard times, attentiveness to customers, joyful life and friendly customer service, calm and thoughtful decision-making, virtue, confidence and conviction, balance and strength, and financial luck. And it's the financial luck one that's kind of like, okay, there it is. So you can look it up on our website and see, but it's kind of interesting. So some details about the pen itself, though. It's a limited edition, and this is a Urushi lacquer. So it's, you know, like all the higher end Numikis, these are pens that take a long time to produce. They have very few artisans who are trained, for years to do this Urushi lacquer artwork. And honestly, like it's not easy work because I mentioned the whole like poison ivy thing. It's the same chemical it's in poison ivy, urushiol. That's the active ingredient in poison ivy, poison oak, and Urushi trees where they get Urushi lacquer from. It's the same ingredient. So
you learned the hard way on that one.
I am highly sensitive to it.
Yes.
But when it's in its fully cured form, it is not toxic. So for the artisans who are working on it, you have to be super careful, super cautious. And I've heard, I don't know for a fact about Numiki's artisans specifically, but I've heard that in order for the artisans to be able to work on these pens, they actually have to sort of ingest and like build up a tolerance to urushiol to keep from, you know, basically having a hazard. So they like, it's part of their training, sort of like you think about like spies building up a tolerance to like certain, you know, poisons and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about? Like James Bond type stuff.
They have to ingest it?
That's what I'm told. They ingest like a little bit. There's apparently this process. Again, I'm like getting out of my depth here. But anyway, we're getting way outside of what's relevant to the Tanuki specifically. But it's basically, it's difficult stuff to work with, but it's a traditional technique. It's the hardest like natural lacquer in the world. And it's very difficult to work with and takes a long time to cure. Once it's fully cured though, it's like rock hard and looks great and all that kind of stuff. So these artisans, they put a lot into these. So because of this, it's limited edition. There's only 300 pens worldwide. It's produced by Numiki's Kokokai, which is their Makie group. So it's not one individual artist working on this. The group kind of designed it together and they will kind of like work on different parts. So like one person might do the base layer, somebody else might do some of the outlining, somebody else might do some of the infilling, you know, so they kind of work together on that. And so they sign these pens with a group signature. The pen itself has an 18 karat number 10 size Pilot nib. Again, Pilot has their own nib sizing, you know, chart, I guess you would call. But the number 10 Pilot nib, that's slightly bigger than the Custom 74, slightly smaller than the Custom 823. So it's actually the same size as the Custom 912, if you're familiar with that pen at all. Good nib size, solid. It's probably, it's a little bit, it's like between a number 5 and a number 6, you know, Western nib. But it writes really great and it's got that awesome looking Mount Fuji, you know, two-tone logo on the nib. It just looks so good. That's what they do on their limited edition pens. It's like one of the best looking nibs.
It really is one of the best looking nibs. I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, and it writes so well. I mean, Pilot really knows their way around a nib.
Well, when we first picked up not to make this too long, but when we first picked up the Namiki pens, we were concerned just based on some of the prices of them and whether or not we were going to be able to clean them out. We were worried about returns. Like, what do we get? What happens when these things come back? Like, a lot of these things, like the Emperors, those are eyedropper pens. How are we going to clean those out and then try to, what do we do with thousands of dollars worth of pen once it's been filled with ink? The answer is they don't come back because they write perfectly.
Yeah,
they write so well.
And they're warranted for life as well. So they stand behind the craftsmanship of these pens. So definitely cool pen, and basically the reason they're so expensive is because of everything I just explained. The pen itself is great, but it's largely a similar nib to what you could get on a 912, which is going to be in the $200 to $300 range. But it's the time, labor, the artwork, all that stuff that goes into it, that's what makes these pens so expensive. So it does come with the Con 70 converter, Drew, which I know we've discussed is, the best converter that you can possibly get.
Oh, come on.
Drew's got
over-engineered, unnecessary.
Oh, get out of here. It's the highest ink capacity ink converter on the market that I'm aware of. So,
and takes twice as much work to fill as a cartridge does.
Not if you know the secrets, Drew. If
you shouldn't need a secret, Brian.
It's not a secret. It's actually just doing things as the instructions say to do. So
it's fine. It's fine.
If you RTFM, you'll have no problem reading the or filling your pen. So
it's better than I'll say it's better than the Con 40.
Well, I could say many things about that right now, but I'm not going to because we are talking about a pro Namiki product here. So the pen is $1,800, but it does come in this sweet wooden gift box. The presentation looks awesome too. So anyway, cool pen, cool theme. Any new Namiki that comes out is really exciting. If it happens to fit your whatever, your preference, your style, go for it. Next thing I wanted to mention was the Benu Euphoria limited edition. So the Euphoria is a relatively newer pen. We've carried it maybe for the last year or so. And they came out with a new line. So this is their spring line. And it's a limited edition, so there's only 150 of each color. And their whole Euphoria, it's a specific style of pen, but they're kind of putting them into like little collections. So they're coming out with like a grouping of them. This is the spring theme. So they have 4 colors: Spring Leaf, which is green; Spring Bloom is pink; Spring Sun is yellow; and Spring Sky is blue. And you can guess which one is my favorite. They are like a pastel kind of color, but they still have lots of shimmer and bling in them because it is Benu, and that is what they're known for. It's got a faceted body and cap, which is really cool. You don't see a lot of faceted pens, and it's a good number of facets. I forget how many facets it is. Is it 12 or 8, Drew? I can't remember. It's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So and they're kind of rounded. They're not like super sharp. And if you don't love the feel of a facet necessarily, it's not on the grip. It's just on the body and the cap of the pen. So you're still grabbing a round, smooth grip. It's got number 6 stainless steel German Schmidt nib in fine, medium, and broad. They're decent writing nibs. They're, basically Schmidt, Bach, Jovo, they all make pretty good stainless steel nibs. So you're going to be pretty happy with it. Standard international cartridge converter. It is also eyedroppable. So you got some options there. Pens around $122, and it'll be available as long as they are made. So I don't know how long we'll have them. It all depends on how well they do globally. And then, Drew, you look like you want to say something.
Brian, I want to ask you, do you say eyedroppable or eyedropperable?
Technically, spell check thinks that both of those are wrong. So I don't really know, but eyedroppable is shorter to type and say.
I think you just said, I've always said eyedropperable, but then you just said eyedroppable. I'm like, that kind of sounds better.
It does sound better. I think I'm a recent, I'm not going to say I'm like a full convert to eyedroppable.
All right, well, you didn't
I've always said eyedropper. I usually say eyedropper convertible. That's what I usually say.
That sounds better. That's probably the correct way to say it.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't mean to deviate, but
no.
That was different. That was not what you normally say. You didn't clear this change with me. This was off script.
I didn't. Well, no, it was actually typed in the notes. So if you had read your notes ahead of time, Drew, you might have seen that. I'm just giving Drew a hard time. No,
I'll adapt. I'll adapt.
This is one of those things with fountain pens, like there seems to be some like standard lingo, but there actually isn't. Everybody just kind of says it and makes it up, and it's kind of whatever group consensus that comes to be. That then becomes the definitive way to say it, and then the established pen users judge newbies for saying it wrong, even though we all just made it up anyway. So,
Yes.
does that sound about right, Drew?
Yes. Yes.
So I think we can say whatever we want, but eyedroppable or eyedropperable or eyedropper convertible, no matter what you do, you can fill the body with ink. Most people don't even use eyedroppers. So really the whole concept is ridiculous anyway. We should come up with a new name. You know what? I'm going to challenge / ask our audience here, particularly on YouTube, leave a comment as to what you think a better name is for a pen that you can fill the body with ink. Because originally it was eyedropper because that's what people used back in like the 1920s. But these days, nobody's really using like glass medicinal eyedroppers to fill their fountain pens. They're using ink syringes or something else. So
like
I'm
Opus
curious.
88 pens come with one, but that's pretty much it.
I'm not saying it should be like syringeable because that's not better either, though that does sound kind of fun.
Yeah.
But is there another better descriptor for a pen where you can fill the body of ink and doesn't require some other filling mechanism? I'm curious.
I like that.
I challenge that. And then if we can all agree to it, we will then start using it and then judge other people for saying it wrong after we've established it. How's that sound?
Yes.
You like that?
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh my goodness. And the last thing I have is the Lamy All-Stars. So the special edition All-Stars that are coming out this year. Normally they would come out in February in most years. They kind of flip-flopped them with the Safaris. So normally it would be All-Stars in February, Safaris in April. This is not a hard, fast rule. This is what they've tended to do the last few years. So people kind of got used to it. They switched that up. They did the Safaris in February this year. They were going to do the All-Stars in April. Well, as you know now, it's the last day of April and they still ain't here yet. But they got a little bit delayed. I think they're going to be here maybe the first week of May. So they're still coming. They're still on the way. They're going to look and be exactly what you expect. We have a video on it if you want to see that, because we did get samples ahead of time to at least produce a video. Just the actual shipment of them to the US at least got delayed. So, they'll be out soon. But that's happening. And then Drew, you got a couple things that you want to talk about.
I do have a couple of things. So we're going to be picking up a new brand of ink, Diplomat. They make ink. And the cool thing about Diplomat ink is that I'm going to hold up some swabs that I made. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to try to keep them in the middle, but let's see if that is, yeah, there we go. Yeah, you can see that. So the neat thing about these is that in general, if a pen manufacturer decides to start making ink, or if they already have been in that business, they don't tend to be quite as vibrant and exciting as I think these are. So these really surprise me, Brian. I find that the purple, the orchid, the moss green, they're more vibrant, more unique versions of the more standard color palette, especially for a brand that is predominantly a pen brand.
Yeah. So I would say it's generally speaking, most pen brands tend to kind of play it safe with their ink colors. They go very conservative, very kind of like watery, a little washed out looking, probably because like those are just easier to clean out of your pen. They're going to, have probably the fewest, potential, misunderstandings about what the ink is and that kind of thing. So they tend to play it pretty safe. But these are surprisingly vibrant. I like the jewel tones. There's some interesting, there's no crazy properties or anything that I think would, be suspect or anything. But, I personally haven't used any of these in my pens. We just got some samples of it. We're waiting on the full shipment. Hopefully we'll have it by Friday by the time this goes out, but at least we'll have some up on the website so you can see pictures and stuff. But, we're getting to know it, and it's exciting to come out with like a whole new line of ink like this from a reputable brand like Diplomat.
Absolutely. I was also surprised that they're brown, or they're light brown. They have two browns. They have Pine Tree, which is a dark brown. They have Caramel, which is a light brown. And I was surprised that caramel is not more often used to describe a brown ink. It's a word that's synonymous with a lighter brown, across multiple industries, but there aren't a ton of caramel inks. I think Diamine has like caramel something. It's like a shimmering ink, but I was like, wait a second, why isn't caramel used more often? It's like there aren't many other words you could like always understand that's a light brown. You like associate that with your head. Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. The other thing I wanted to talk about though was cartridges. So generally cartridges are not the most exciting thing in the world, but generally cartridges don't come in a ton of variety. So Private Reserve has a good variety of ink. They have a nice, vibrant variety of inks. And we're going to be carrying their cartridges. We're going to be carrying their cartridges again. We have carried these in the past, but they were well received. We took a break from Private Reserve for a while, but they're back in ink form. They're back in fast dry ink form. We've got more coming down the pipeline, and we're going to pick these back up as well. Now, as far as variety of cartridge procurability goes, Monteverde's pretty much the place to go right now. They are packaged in the same exact way that Monteverde cartridges are, but you get all of your favorite Private Reserve ink. And by favorite, I mean Spearmint, because that's the best.
That's a good one. Is that your favorite Private Reserve ink, Drew?
I think it might be.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I bounce between that and avocado.
Used to be avocado. They changed it.
Wait. Which one's the... Wait.
Avocado is correct. That's the food. That's the fruit.
Did they change it? It's not the wrong way anymore?
It used to be avocado.
I thought it still was.
Little pen history nugget here. Ink nugget.
About the guitar thing.
So Terry Johnson was an avid guitar enthusiast, and a lot of the Private Reserve colors, he's the founder who since passed away many years ago, was a guitar enthusiast. A lot of the color names for the ink were guitar finish colors. So avocado with an A was apparently the spelling of a guitar finish. It's different than the fruit avocado. And I say fruit, understanding that could cause some debate as to whether an avocado is a fruit or a vegetable. So I'll just drop that in there and we can debate that in the comments.
So if somebody has an older version of this, it's now more special.
I would say
I did not know they made that change, because I knew about the story and I knew that it was once spelled the guitar way and not the actual fruit way, but I did not know they made the change.
I think once Terry passed and, the company changed a little bit, following that, as you can imagine, the founder passing away. I think it was just so confusing for people. They just changed it because it was easier, and then people like doing like SEO type stuff, searches for, avocado.
That's kind of a bummer. I kind of like it spelled incorrectly.
It had a neat story, but basically nobody knew what the story was. We tried to talk about it, but it's one obscure ink. And so, that's a good color.
Like, I know I've actually heard of Copper Burst being a guitar color. I'm not super familiar with it, but I bet if you are a guitar enthusiast, you'd look at these colors and see some familiar terminology.
Yeah, and like American Blue and DC Super Show Blue obviously was not. That was named after the pen show.
Right.
That's one of my favorite blues. But yeah, a lot of those original colors. I don't know how hard fast a rule that is and if that's still the case, but at least a lot of the original PR colors were all guitar finish names. So
that's super cool.
Dropping knowledge bombs left and right. So there we go. All right.
Hey, Brian, guess what time it is?
Drew, if I had to guess, I would say it's time for Q&A.
It's time for Q&A. All right. And you are going to start off with the first question. Brian, give us one.
I'm going to lead off by saying we got so many good questions. It was actually really tough to narrow them down. But we'll try to move through and share some more knowledge facts for you all. So
knowledge facts. Get them here.
First question I have is, pen nib you grew out of even though you thought was amazing at first. So what pen have you outgrown, Drew?
That is interesting. Let's see. What pen or nib have I outgrown? When I first got my hands on it was a platinum modern Mach-E with a 14 karat gold nib. It was that weird kind of triangular nib that slid onto the feed. I used to be in love with that thing. Okay. And because it had a little bit of a bounce, it was my first gold nib, and I just liked the way it wrote a lot. And
it's a good writing pen.
It is. I went back to it, however, and it wasn't as good as I thought it was, just because of the way the feed is. I guess if you hold it low, the feed touches paper, essentially. And that bothered me a lot. And I don't know if maybe my hand position changed over the years, but it just wasn't as good as I remember. There are pens like the 2000, like the Vanishing Point, where I can go years without writing with them and then pick them back up and be like, oh yeah, you guys, flawless. But I went back to that one and I was like, oh, yeah, not so much. and cleaning it's weird. You have to like take it apart and shove the feed out through the back of the grip section, and
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, not as in love with that as I once was. It's still a good pen, but I used to be in love with it, and I guess I have fallen out of love with it.
Huh. Okay. Fair enough. Mine goes back to, I think this might have been in the first. I bought like 6 fountain pens. I think it was the first time I ever bought a fountain pen, back before we were even selling them. And one of those pens was a Pelican Script with a 1.0 millimeter nib. Now, I will say, I mean, you know me, Drew, I
had some of those.
all about that pen. So the pen does write really well. It punches well above its weight class. You like how I used a sports reference, Drew? And I think I used it right.
Pow.
That said, the rest of the pen is utterly disappointing to me, to the point where it was no longer enjoyable for me to use, even though it wrote so well. It's a very light pen, which I don't love. It's a very thin pen, which I don't love. It's a calligraphy pen, so it's like really long and awkward. You can't post it, so it was just like, all right, so that's already not my favorite format. And plus, just some of the Pelican pens, I don't know if they're still this way, because we're talking over a decade ago at this point, but at least back then, the standard international converters would not grab on very well to the pen. So half the time you would unscrew the body and the converter would come off in the pen. And certainly when you were trying to fill the pen with a converter, it like wouldn't hold on. You'd have to like basically hold the converter on as you did it. So you'd have to use a syringe or whatever. It just got to be more of a hassle than it was worth. I got more pens and I used other good writing stub nibs. But I will say that pen was the one that made me fall in love with stub nibs. So credit to it, but I don't use them anymore ever, because I thought it was amazing, and it was, but then everything else made it less amazing, and I moved on.
I will say 2 things about that pen. One, the exact same thing happened to me, and I was hoping you were going to get to it, because the converter would pop right off whenever I would take the barrel off. The other thing I will say, I want to give that pen some credit, because that was the first pen I had ever seen that had a hole for ink filling at the front of the feed. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
that was pretty cool.
So you don't have to like get your nib all the way under the ink to fill it. Yeah. Yeah, very few pens have that. Pilot has that on a lot of them. Has it on the E23, Custom 74, a few others as well.
2000 has it.
2000, yep. Well,
boom.
Technically, the 2000 has a filler hole in the grip of the pen, but it's a hooded nib and it's really far down there.
It's near the bottom. It's near the bottom. Okay, moving on, Brian.
Moving on to the next question.
We have a question that is asking us, do you think any of the ink brands will ever make ink that will show up on black paper?
Good question. We get asked about this a lot, especially from people coming over from like the calligraphy world, because you can get calligraphy ink that is pure white. So we get people who are maybe urban sketchers or, artists. They do maybe watercolor, some kind of mixed media, something like that. And they come over to the fountain pen world and they're like, where's my white? Like, I want to work and maybe it's not black paper, maybe it's some other dark color. They're like, I need white ink. And we get asked this all the time. And the answer has always been, well, nobody makes it. And then we came to understand sort of why nobody makes it. Noodler's for a long time was the only brand that had anything white, which was Whiteness of the Whale, which is a small little 1 ounce bottle. It's pretty expensive. It's in their Eternal series, but it's basically unusable. It's kind of like watered down milk. It's like writing with skim milk.
It's milky.
That's what it looks like. So it's like, what is this for? Essentially Whiteness of the Whale was designed so that you could lighten up, sort of like dilute another ink, and you can take a red and make it pinker, or you could take a purple and make it more pastel violet kind of thing. So it's like sort of like, all right, that's a pretty niche use. So it was never really a thing. That said, there's the Diatramentis Document White, which is probably the best white fountain pen ink on the market for the general population. But it's still pretty similar to Whiteness of the Whale. I think it just has maybe slightly less permanent properties to it, and it's in a little bit bigger bottle. Maybe I don't know. I don't really use it, so I can't really say definitively. But even still, it's a milky kind of a color. So as sometimes happens with questions like these, I was like, I've sort of known the answer to this for a while. Let me dive a little deeper since I'm going to be answering this in video form for all eternity and try and figure out. So, essentially ink is various components, but it's largely water and dye, right? So it's got some other stuff in there. Drew, you can sit back and fall asleep while I talk. But ink is dye-based. Dyes, by their inherent nature, can only make things darker, not lighter. That's just what dyes are. That's how they work. It's like if you dye your hair, you can't dye your hair a lighter color. That's why you have to like bleach it or hydrogen peroxide or something like that to make your hair lighter. You are chemically changing your hair. It's not a dye. You can like bleach it white and then put a dye on the white to make it something else. So anybody who's ever colored their hair is like, I have really dark hair. I've never been able to dye my hair any successful color other than black. Rachel can attest to this too. If you have really dark hair and you try to bleach it, it'll turn orange. And then you try to dye it some other color, that'll dye will wash away and you'll end up with orange hair. I've done it. Rachel's done it. It's pretty funny looking actually, but it's because you can't dye something lighter. So that's basically what's happening with fountain pen ink too. It's dye-based ink. So it's no different than hair dye or clothing dye or anything like that. The only thing that can be white is pigment, right? Now, technically, dye has pigment in it. It's very, very fine, and it's not very much of it. But the amount of pigment you need for something to be white, it's a lot, and which makes it very thick, right? So things like acrylic or oil paint can be white. Calligraphy ink is usually some kind of shellac-based or acrylic-based ink. It's very thick, and it can be white, but it's too thick to flow in a fountain pen. So, especially an acrylic or shellac, that's going to dry out in the pen. It's cleaned up with alcohol, which works against the feed, which is usually plastic. So you can only use it with like a metal only nib. Then you can use white. So those who are doing calligraphy, they are familiar with white, but it's an entirely different animal, the type of ink chemically, than what is used for fountain pen ink. So essentially to be concentrated enough to make a white pigment ink that shows up white on black paper, it would be too thick to flow in a fountain pen. That is why you do not see, and unless there's some like miraculous discovery of physics and chemistry that changes our understanding of how dyes work, you will not see a white fountain pen ink that essentially does what people are looking for it to do, which is replace a traditional calligraphy white ink.
And the only thing I'll add to that is that, yes, absolutely perfect. The only thing I'll add to that is that on top of what Brian said about how it will, you're not gonna be able to find something that will flow in through a feed. It's not just that. You need to find something that will flow through it and not destroy your pen, because that's the other part of it. It's like you might find something that you can get from point A to point B and like, oh, look, I am writing with white. But guess what? Your pen is not going to survive the experiment. I'm sorry to say. No. It's not a good idea. You put shellac-based ink inside of a modern feed, bye-bye feed.
It's just not, to sum it all up, it's not possible, with our current understanding of science.
Yeah.
Next question. Drew, I took a risk on this one because I'll be honest and say I don't have an answer. So I was hoping either you would or our audience would. So what can one do about slippery grip sections of pens, the matte metal ones especially? So if you have a matte metal pen, I'm thinking about like maybe a Diplomat Aero or Lamy Ion or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's not like super slick metal, but is a matte metal maybe, or maybe even a slick metal. I don't know. We can take some liberty with this question. Is there some kind of hack or something you can do with that? I literally don't know, other than like wipe your fingers off on your shirt to make sure your fingers aren't oily before you grab it and just kind of keep doing that. Other than wiping it, I don't really know of a hack that you can do that would not cause like, essentially damage to the pen, like taking sandpaper to it to give it more texture, but that would obviously like ruin the look of the pen. I'm stumped. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I remember I had a machine in elementary school you could put a quarter into, and it would give you a nice triangular, rubber grip that you could. No, I'm just kidding. You don't want that.
Oh wow!
But no, in all honesty, I have very dry hands. I have more of a problem, making sure my hands are moist than not. But I would say that two things. One, Not so much with the Diplomat Arrow, because that has a pretty significant step up from the grip to the barrel. But with some others, like the Ion, for example, you could probably get away. Actually, no, that whole thing is metal. Sometimes you can choke up on a pen a little bit and grip it a little higher up. Depending on what type of pen it is, you might be able to put your hand in a position where it's not right on that grip, especially if it has a smaller grip section. You can go a little bit toward the back of it and still write, effectively. The other thing I will say is that keep in mind, you don't need to be putting down a lot of pressure. If you're pushing down on your pen or you're dragging it a little bit too hard, so much so that even if you do have damp palms or damp fingers, your hands are slipping and sliding, you might be putting down enough pressure. Really, all you need to do, if it's well tuned, is guide it. And I'm talking dragging it and, pushing and not shoving down. Like, you really shouldn't be forcing your fingers down the grip section. If you are, like, even if you have the dampest palms in history, you don't need to be exerting downward force. You shouldn't. Some pens, yeah, you're going to have to. Not all pens are ground equally. We know that. But I would say if that is a problem, if you have a pen you're absolutely in love with and it does have a slippery grip for you, what might be a good course of action is to take it to a Nibmeister and get that thing perfected. Even if it's writing okay, a Nibmeister can make it perfect so that you don't need to put down any pressure.
Interesting thoughts. So if y'all have any other advice or feedback about that, please let us know. The thing I will say, Drew, poking somewhat of a hole in your triangle rubber grip thing, you just thinking about that, you would have to install and uninstall that every time you cap and recap the pen.
Oh, yeah,
because it wouldn't fit. That would be a pretty terrible solution, but I guess...
no, you need to put the whole thing in like a Ziploc bag and seal it up every time you're done.
Wow. All right, moving on. This will hopefully be a quick one. Drew, this next one is...
Yeah.
I'll let you read it.
So, when is the Pelican's Golden Barrel ink coming out?
Yes. So I think it was originally supposed to come out in April. And Drew, as you know, from working on our customer care team for nearly 7 years, whenever we put any date for anything, as soon as that date comes around, people are like, okay, where is it? You said it was going to be available in April, and it's like midnight on April 1st. People are like, okay, where's this ink? You said it would be coming. And it's like, no, it's like we were given a general timeline. April most likely means towards the end of April, probably delayed till May. That's exactly what happened. So as of right now, Golden Barrel has been delayed until late May. That said, could very well get delayed again. It's outside of our hands. COVID life, all these things. Pelican's been really, really disrupted with COVID things. So all of their timelines have been pretty whacked out. So, it's going to be at least another month, maybe longer. But there you go. That's kind of how it works. All right, next question. Can I put a Bock titanium nib on a TWSBI VAC 700R?
I'm guessing they're talking about like a Bock 250 size, which is a number 6
standard,
nib.
Yeah, the standard one that you see available, at some places, right?
So, Brian, speak on this for a second. I've actually got both those nibs here. I'm going to compare.
Yeah, if you
them.
want to give it a try,
Well, I'm not going to be able to give it a try, but I'm going to show the difference between the two.
Okay, go for it. So I will say they are both number 6 nibs. TWSBI does not, to my knowledge, use Bock nibs on their VAC 700R. I don't know if they ever have. I know they, way back in the day, started with Bock. They switched to Yovo, but I think that was years ago. I don't think the VAC 700R, which was a redone VAC 700, a redesign, that's where the R comes from, actually. I don't think the VAC 700R has ever had a Bock nib on it. So not that particularly matters, because sometimes Bock and Yovo nibs are interchangeable with each other, especially the standard like number 6 size nib, for whatever standard there is, because it's all kind of made up. But to my knowledge, it should more or less fit because the nib is similar. But with that said, the titanium nib is gonna be a little softer. So if there is any pressure exerted in any direction in an unconventional way or a way that it's not designed from the manufacturer, that nib could change in its flow or various properties. It could bend it weird, at the arch when you insert it in. The tines could be bent if the feed's pressing up on it in any certain way. So it may fit in the pen. I do not know if it will properly work and flow when installed in a VAC 700R. So This would be something we would have to like ink it up and try it out and do a whole thing. I don't know. Is it really worth us doing that? Maybe, but we have a lot going on. So it's kind of thing like if you all have some, we'd love to know if you've played around with it or heard about it. I haven't heard of anybody specifically doing this, but in theory, it could work. So it's worth experimenting if you have both of these things at home.
Yeah, so the VAC 700 nib is pretty darn close to a number 6, but I actually didn't hear what Brian said. But he probably told you that they are Yovo nibs. They are similar to number 6 nibs, but they are made specifically for TWSBI. So looking at a Yovo number 6, I actually don't have a Bach here with me, but they to the naked eye, they look very, very similar. I think that the TWSBI base section of the nib is a little bit more narrow than the Yovo base section, but
couldn't you see, Drew, that like maybe the thickness of the nib material could be slightly different and cause it to fit differently, or the curvature might be slightly different. Like I can see a lot of different, very, very small ways that it could seem like it would be okay, but it could end up with some kind of weird issue. I think it's worth a try, but
Guess what? I have a Bach titanium nib here with me.
All right, so what we're going to do, because we're already going really long, and we already said at the intro that we were going to do all this other stuff, like the quiz. So we're just going to go crazy long on this one, and you can ink it up and use it while we keep going on the questions. How's that sound? And we'll come back to this.
Oh, I don't need to ink it up. I'm just going to shove it in the grip section.
Yeah, well, tell me if it looks weird at least.
No, it looks perfectly fine.
Okay, so potentially. So it does fit. Does it work well is another question. So
it's not going to focus. No, but anyway, yeah, it's in the
it fits in there.
VAC 700 grip section. Yeah, went right in, super easy.
All right, so there you go. Potentially could work for you. All right, next question, Drew. Kick it off. All right,
we're going to find out, Brian, does subscribing to the restock email on gouletpens.com, I'm assuming, increase the chances of a pen getting back in stock?
So the answer is yes and no. I took a little liberty with this question.
Okay, so, all right. Explain yourself.
When we have an item out of stock, you can't actually add it to your cart. It has an email me when back in stock thing. You put in your email. It puts you on a list that's magical, and it's in the back end of our website. You don't see the list, but we do. And all that really happens is that sets up a trigger for when we put something back in stock for the product that you signed up for. It then sends an email to everybody that has put in their email to say, we have put this thing back in stock. Whether it's one item or a zillion items, that email goes out to everyone on the list. So, the question that you're asking in its purest form, does you putting your name on that actually, increase the chances of it getting back in stock? Automatically, no, because basically all that's doing is we're putting something in stock and an email goes out and that's it. That said, the nuance to this, if you sign up and it's something that we, are back ordered on, or maybe it's a new product that hasn't come in yet. We don't know how popular it's going to be. We're kind of guessing. We actually do look at the email list to see, right? So you see where I'm going with this, Drew.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
We do actually look at the list to see like this new random thing. We have no idea if it's going to be popular. Oh my gosh, look at how many people have signed up on this email notification list. This might actually be more popular than we would have initially thought because it doesn't exist yet. We don't know. We're just guessing. We're not going to speculatively spend, exorbitant amounts of money on a guess of every new product because we're launching new products all the time. So we try, it's a bit of art and a bit of science. We try to guess it accurately, but who knows? So the one side of it is that, if a lot of people sign up, we may order more if we see that there's a lot on the list, and that could increase the chances of you actually being able to get it because we then have more stock. That said, we don't always get what we order, so it's not really a guarantee. So even if you sign up, a bunch of people sign up, we're like, oh, great, this is really popular, let's order more. Actual order comes in, we get a third of what we ordered, and the email goes out, and it's a free-for-all anyway. So, signing up for the email, to sum up this whole thing, signing up on the email notification will only help you getting, the chances. For one, you'll be notified immediately when we put something in stock. That right there is reason enough to do it if you actually want that thing. But it also gives us an indication of what's popular, and therefore we might order more, thus increasing the chances of it actually being in stock when you get that email notification. So it's, not the most sophisticated system in the world, but it is something that we've actually developed kind of into our fiber or DNA at Goulet Pens. And we actually run like projection reports on the email notification list conversion, on a new product, so that we know, oh, okay, a pen in this price range. Yeah, everybody loves to sign up for this, but nobody actually buys it. We don't want to spend, I'll say like, $5,000-$10,000. Like it could be that much on one new product, and then nobody actually buys it. And here we are sitting on this inventory, and then we can't have that money to invest in the next new thing that you might actually want. So we have to nuance this a little bit. So we actually run regular reports on things like waitlist conversion, for exactly this purpose. So there's a lot to it, but signing up for that email notification list is only a good thing. So there,
Absolutely.
Kind of a cool question.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was asked.
Yeah. Only good things could come of signing up for the waitlist, for sure.
All right, next one. Has a pen ever been so good for you that your desire to buy more pens goes away? And then Katz Riley here sent a follow-up question, which I assume was a continuation of this question. I got a Lamy 2000 and my desire to new pens has disappeared. So again, another Lamy 2000 fan. Drew, have you ever bought something that has like basically satiated all your pen desires and you're good from there on out? Even just categorically, No. And that has happened in other areas of my life. Like I saw one concert one time and I'm like, you know what? I'm good now. And I really haven't seen a concert since or really wanted to go to a concert since. But so I get how that can happen. Wait, let me stop you, Drew. You can't just like drop that and then not say what concert you went to that was like the concert to end all concerts for you.
It was a band called Manowar. They, I think, are in the Guinness Book of World Record for the loudest band ever. They're goofy, they're silly, but I saw them in 2005 and it was amazing and perfect and wonderful. And I didn't see it. I didn't go to another concert or even want to go to another concert until we went to see Iron Maiden the year before last. So it was a good long while before, and that one just kind of fell in my lap anyway. But so I get what Katz Riley is saying, but for me, that can't happen with pens because if I was strictly buying pens for writing, yes, absolutely, I would buy one pen and be fine with it. But I don't. I'm not a big writer. I don't write like when I'm at home in my spare time. I like collecting pens because I think they're neat. I like the materials. I like the colors. And because of that, no, that sadly cannot happen. I cannot be sated with just one pen. If it was a functional only, then yes, absolutely, I get it. But unfortunately for me and my wallet, it's a more visual thing.
Yeah. I think for some people, definitely this is the case. And again, like you said, depending on your level of interest in these types of things, I mean, how many pens does one person really need? Like in all practicality, it happens all the time. I totally get it. I think because we're like in the business, we're just, it falls in our lap more often. We get excited about it. People ask us about it. So we're more in the flow of being excited about new things. So no, I've never had any pen that has like satiated, be like, I'm good now. I have gotten like certain types of pens, like certain like limited editions or special things where it's like, okay, cool. Like I got this one. I'm good. Like on this grouping of pens. Like I don't feel the need to get, a lot of times I would feel the desire to get a certain type of pen, like say like a Namiki Maki-e or something. I don't have a vast Namiki Maki-e collection because they're so expensive, even for me. So it's like, I basically want every pen they come out with. But when I actually acquire one of those pens, my desire to then at least have one of them is much, much, much lower. And I'm like, okay, if a pen in this category comes out that's like an absolute bullseye for me, like really nails who I am and what I'm all about, then I would be interested in that one. But I do not feel compelled to buy, every Namiki Maki-e, just as an example, that might come out, because I already have, this one, so that's just one example. So it's nuanced, but yeah, for me, no, I still keep acquiring pens all the time. Yeah,
it's a collector thing, not a writer thing, unfortunately, for me anyway.
Let's skip the next one and go to the last one, Drew, just for time's sake.
Okay. So this one came through in a YouTube comment, and I'm sorry I did not write down the individual who mentioned this, but they asked a really good question that I think we should mention. Why don't we see any sterling silver nibs? We've got titanium, we've got gold, we've got steel, we've got palladium, but silver, one of the most common, precious metals, it doesn't get nib treatment. And why is that? I don't know what your answer is, but my answer is, the fact that they tarnish and they're too soft and they don't spring back.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason. They're too soft. Yeah. It's the spring back. That's a lot of it. So I think we were talking to Dante Del Vecchio years ago about this when he was, originally with Visconti, he was testing different nibs. Visconti had gold nibs. They moved to palladium. Now they're moving back to gold. They tested silver nibs as a potential when looking for the palladium nibs first go around. And he said that they tested silver and it just didn't have the properties. It would be really soft, but it would be like soft and just like bleh, like it would just mush out and it wouldn't come back. So yes, it could work if you just kept the lightest of touches and didn't really flex it. But in their testing, it's like you think about like what people, especially people who maybe are newer to fountain pens, don't use them all the time, just don't really think about it. They're generally going to press harder because they're coming over from roller balls and ballpoints and things where you have to press hard. If you don't specifically know to have a light touch and you press too hard, you're going to, do that. And it was so easy to do that with silver nibs, so combine that with the tarnishability and stuff that Drew mentioned, it has never made sense to do that. So that's why silver is not really a thing. It's not that it couldn't be, but it wouldn't be practical.
Yeah.
All right, Drew, hypothetical. You didn't have one for us last time. You have one for us this time. So I am in heavy anticipation. I do not know what Drew's about to ask, so it will be on the fly for me. So what do you got for us this time?
All right. Brian, I have asked you this one a while ago. It was probably a couple of years ago, so I'm hoping you either, I don't know. Anyway, all right. Brian, you get the superpower to have three, I guess it's not a superpower, it is an ability to have three condiments, toppings, whatever, come out of three fingers at all times. You have an infinite supply. If you want some like mayonnaise on anything, you have three condiments and that can just come out of your fingertips at any given time. If you're at a restaurant and they don't have the honey mustard that you want, or the McDonald's Szechuan sauce that got discontinued, or Chick-fil-A sauce that you can just never get enough of, you always have it literally at your fingertips. What are the three that you, and if you want boundaries and borders, I can give you some. So
I was going to say immediately I have follow-up questions for you.
Okay. All right.
So condiments. So what classifies something here as a condiment? Like
a normal condiment. Don't do it. Like,
because you've asked the hypothetical before of like, if you could shoot anything out of your fingers, like spaghetti or yogurt or whatever.
For you, imagine anything that can come in a packet or like a single serving that you would see at like a counter after you ordered something. And then
so like
something
a food item of some kind, right?
Yeah.
Not like
what else is a
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I'm saying like if I could have like gasoline or something and I could just like fill my car, like that would be really convenient,
No.
Well, okay. I
said condiment.
Okay. I'm just finding where the boundaries are. Okay. So I do not consume gasoline. So that would, okay. So questions, do I get to choose which fingers they're on?
Yes. Fine. Yes.
Okay.
Sure. No, all right. Here. I'll give it to you. You're not getting your fingers messy. Okay, each finger.
That's what I'm thinking about because, like, like when you have a ketchup bottle and you like squeeze it out and it's got that little bit that kind of hangs off. Am I gonna have like ketchup on my fingers on everything that I touch? Like, because then I would choose something different, maybe.
It generates a dime-sized wormhole into an entire universe of that condiment, and it just comes out of that portal. Okay.
Do I have to consume it myself, or could I sell it?
You could not monetize this in any way.
Because I'm thinking if I could like be just like pumping like some like
for
caviar type substance out of my fingers, I could sell it. And then
for you and your friends. No.
Me and my friends. Okay. How well do I have to know these people? Could they be like casual like business associates? Because I could probably like negotiate a little bit, like trade me some pens. I'll get you some like caviar sauce.
This is what I have to deal with every time I ask him a simple question. Everybody else has answers normally. Brian can't do it.
No. For those of you who know, like the Myers-Briggs profile, I am an ENTP, which is known as the debater. So whenever Drew asks me hypotheticals, I always debate him on it, even if it doesn't matter, which it doesn't.
No, you cannot sell it. Maybe it's not infinite. Maybe you only get like several cups of it a day, and then you run out, and then you need to wait. Okay.
So a reasonable, consumable within my private circle of people.
There you go.
So like I could provide it for my family, but I'm not like selling it. Okay.
Sure.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to be clear about where the boundaries were
All right.
for those who may be playing along at home. So basically, like, what are my favorite condiments? Okay, ketchup.
Well, not necessarily favorite, because ketchup is always available pretty much. You're usually going to have access to ketchup. Maybe something that's not
always
so much
available. So you know why I would?
Maybe you have a particular brand you like.
Not really.
No, okay,
it's all
never
kind
mind.
of similar. But no, like when I'm in the car and I have like some like Chick-fil-A waffle fries or something, I'm not like doing the ketchup thing with that. But if I had like ketchup that could come out of my finger and I could be like on the fry, like as I'm eating it, like in the car, to do it safely, like that would be a win for me. That might actually be worth it right there. I would choose ketchup because I like ketchup. It's a good all around. I do not like mustard. I don't like a lot of condiments actually. I would probably choose ketchup, barbecue sauce, and the third one would be Ken's light Caesar dressing.
Okay.
Because light Caesar dressing is not always so easy to come by. But that's like the only dressing. No, actually. I like that dressing most universally. The other dressing I'm thinking of is at Sweetwater Tavern, which is like this local chain that's only in the DC area. They have this buttermilk ranch type thing. I've never had any other buttermilk ranch that I like, but that dressing at that restaurant is amazing. And so maybe Sweetwater buttermilk, that or the Caesar dressing. I would have to think about it more. None of this matters. I don't know why I'm debating it so much, but
it's you. All right. I would do cayenne pepper because I put cayenne on pretty much everything. Half and half because I go through it constantly. I'd save some money if I did that. And then you're going to like this one. The jalapeno pump cheese from Fuddruckers.
Ooh, that hot.
Yeah.
It's not quite.
It's in that big.
It's not quite Cheese Whiz, but it's like, it's not quite. It's not quite real cheese either.
No, not real cheese. It's the plastic cheese, but it has jalapeno bits in it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Drew, we haven't done a good Fuddruckers in a while. Man, we need to do that sometime.
Is it still there? Is it still at the truck stop?
I don't know. I would imagine so. Yeah.
I hope COVID hasn't killed it.
Yeah, I think as soon as COVID hit, Rachel and I were like, well, we're definitely not going there because if you're going to get COVID, it's going to be at a truck stop Fuddruckers.
All right. Well, that's the hypothetical. Brian was only slightly incorrigible, so
that's right.
We can thank him for that.
There we go. We're going so long. I don't even want to do this segment, but we already teased it, so we're going to do it, but we're not going to debate it super heavily because it's kind of dumb anyway. But let's go to the next segment, which I'm calling That's Smarts. So it's like a quiz-based type thing. I'm doing this as a proof of concept, not necessarily because this quiz in particular is like a bullseye. So long story short, as we've been researching different segments for this show, I've got all kinds of ideas and things I'm throwing in there. So I found this website called How Stuff Works. We have no affiliation with them, but I was looking for like fountain pen trivia, like fountain pen quizzes. Basically, nobody has any. So we would have to make one up, but then we would know the answer. So I don't have like a good like fountain pen quiz type thing that I could go out and find. But in my search for a fountain pen quiz, I found one, a couple that were like sort of writing related. So I was like, let's try the concept of doing a quiz and then maybe we can like do more work to come up with one. But I didn't want to go through all that work to prepare one if it was a terrible concept anyway. So that said, I've looked at these questions just as a proof of concept. I don't actually know the answer. So Drew and I are going to go through these together. We're not going to do it for anything real. It's just be for pride. This might be a terrible concept, but if you're sticking with us at this point, you know, you're probably, your standards are lower anyway. So
either that or you don't know how to turn it off.
That's right. Or you've fallen asleep on your sofa and you woke up and you're at this and you're like, what are they talking about? So Drew, click through onto the link. We're going to do this.
Okay.
I don't even know how many questions this is, but we're going to go through quickly and try and do this. So the first question.
Right, I have not seen any of this.
Okay. So the quiz is try your best to pass this 1953 school supplies quiz. So I guess this is questions about school supplies that were around in 1953, which point of fact was before both my parents were born. So I don't have a lot of firsthand knowledge of this, but I thought it'd be kind of fun. All right. So oh, my phone's going off. Okay. Sorry. A little day break there for you, for any community fans. All right. Demonetized. No, I'm kidding. We're not monetized anyway, so there's nothing to D. All right. A strange substance used early in school in 1953, but also in place of milk In cereal ads, what is it? There's a multiple choice. Elmer's glue, oil of milk, cream, or sand.
Well,
So
they
what
have a
products-
picture of glue.
I know, right? I know it's Elmer's glue because Elmer's glue is made of casein, which is a milk-based product.
Well, why would they put a picture of it? Well, I'm going to say oil of milk just because I refuse to believe that they would be that
I think it's. I know
obvious.
I know it's Elmer's
It's
glue.
Elmer's glue. Come on.
There you
Man.
go. Correct. Elmer's
It's a picture
glue.
of Elmer's glue right there. Why would they ask a quiz and then literally show you the answer?
Well, try not to let that disrupt you too much. I think it's a hint. I don't think this quiz was made for people that, have a lot of other things to do. All right. When spelling was in question, to what would the wise 1953 student turn? A spelling book, dictionary, encyclopedia, or thesaurus?
I'm going to go with spelling book because it's the only thing that seems weird. And
I'm going to say dictionary because that seems very obvious. Wrong. It's a spelling book. How is a spelling book different than a dictionary?
They are never used anymore. Essentially, spelling books were designed to allow spell checking, but not bother with definitions to save space.
Huh. How about that? See,
Okay.
we've learned something.
There
So
we
it
go.
help with
Spelling
term
book.
papers or spelling bees. So literally it's just a book of words so you could know how to spell something. Okay, as long as you know generally how it was spelled, I guess. Now we have spell check and none of this matters. Okay. Designed to keep one's food a pleasant temperature. You don't see these around much anymore, at least in schools. What was this handy supply? Lunchbox, cooler, fridge, or thermos? Well, it's got a picture of a thermos and a lunchbox here. I'm going to say thermos because we grew up in the 90s and thermoses were definitely still a thing when we were kids.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And they matched your lunchbox.
Boom. Thermos is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Thermos was a
definitely
revelation. Okay. So they say. All right. Next
Okay.
one. Lines, holes, and cheapness define this paper. What kind of paper might it be? Blotter paper, loose leaf paper, graph paper, or construction paper? I mean, construction paper definitely has some cheapness going on. It's going to be loose leaf paper, right?
Right, but it doesn't have lines, holes, and cheapness. Yeah, it's got to be loose leaf.
Loose leaf paper. Yeah, that's correct.
Yep,
Okay.
loose leaf.
Pretty straightforward. All right.
Okay.
Home economics had some unusual items required in 1953. Which of the following was one of them? Spreadsheets, economics, adding machine, fedora, or egg timer? Wow.
Fedora, like a hat? Why?
Why would that be part of home economics? And it has a picture of eggs. Come on. It's an egg timer, obviously. Home economics is like
it's an egg timer.
cooking and like stuff like that. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I always use
timer.
my fedora when I cook.
Okay, this one I genuinely don't know the answer to. Okay. No math test could be taken without one of these unless you were a genius. What is it? Number 2 pencil, slide rule, abacus, or spreadsheet? Or sorry, cheat sheet. Cheat sheet. I like that one. That last one was kind of
I don't even think a genius could take a math test without a pencil, personally.
But I'm thinking specifically 1953.
I mean, it's got to be an abacus, right?
Abacus? Like slide rule. I know my parents talked a lot about a slide rule, but I feel like that wasn't until like the
Abacuses
60s.
are super old, though.
They are super
Abacuses
old.
are.
But the slide rule, that was revolutionary. But it's not that you couldn't take any math test. You couldn't do like trigonometry and calculus without a slide rule. But I don't think that was 53. I think that came later. I think the slide rule was like what put like the Apollo on the moon. Like that was like, that could not have happened without a slide rule. But that was the 60s, not the 50s.
Yeah, I feel like abacusi are like pre-1953.
Oh yeah, they're like thousands of years old.
Right. Like, did they still use them in 53?
I don't know. I'm gonna say abacus, but it's probably a pencil.
I'm gonna say
Dang
slide
it.
rule.
It's
It's a pencil.
a pencil.
Oh, come on.
That's too
Okay,
obvious.
I know. God, that's
They threw us off. They overcomplicated it. All right.
yeah. They're
This product was reserved for the older students, but could still prove disastrous if mishandled. What was it? Rubber cement, paste, scotch tape, or masking tape?
It depends on. It can. Yeah, a lot of paste ingested could be disastrous. But I'm gonna say rubber cement.
I'm going to say rubber cement because that I feel could be most disastrous. Correct. It's a brilliant invention. But yeah, the downside is if the solvents that keep it in a liquid form aren't something that one wants little children exposed to. Yeah, obviously.
Ugh.
I don't think they allow rubber cement in school anymore. I really don't.
Nor
There's some
should they.
nasty stuff. All right. This tool was used by teachers to show students the world, and it was as close as 1953 could come to virtual reality. What do you think it is? A stereoscope, telescope, Nickelodeon, or microscope?
Nickelodeon. No, not Nickelodeon. Darn it.
Virtual
I just gave
reality?
you two.
You said not Nickelodeon. You already clicked on the answer.
No, I didn't. It's definitely Nickelodeon. Definitely choose Nickelodeon.
I don't
because
think so. Dang it. Virtual reality?
The picture makes it look like a
It makes it look like one of those Viewmasters. Yeah. See, it threw you off there, Drew. See?
Well, Nickelodeon, that was Nickelodeon was like a type of
microscope. Nope. Dang it, stereoscope.
The answer is stereoscope.
Shoot.
Nickelodeon was like a type of movie, like a moving picture sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that I don't know why I thought that.
All right, here we go. We got a pen question.
Ooh.
This older kind of pen meant filling it was easy, though one wouldn't want to climb aboard a flight with it. What was it called? Oh, hang on.
Oh, come on.
Cartridge fountain pen, piston filling fountain pen, ballpoint pen, or vacuum filling fountain pen?
Ooh. See, this is actually a good question.
The average person would not have a clue what this is asking.
See, vacuum filling pens are good for flights, so it can't be that.
Were they good in 1953, though?
Could they seal in 1953, or were they just for filling?
Drew, if we get
Not
this
cartridge.
wrong,
Cartridges are okay. It's got to be piston or vacuum, right?
I think so. But ballpoint pens, they were not reliable in 1953. Oh, gosh. I'm going to say piston filling fountain pen. Oh, my gosh. Am I wrong? No, that's correct. Okay. Woo.
You're right. Very good.
Okay. Woo. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Good deal. Okay. Woo. All right. I feel
cool.
legit.
A relevant question. Finally.
It's getting more relevant as we go. I don't even know how many questions there are, so we could just go forever. All right. This ink was often used with dip pens and brushes in school and remains an art school staple. What is it? India ink, fountain pen ink, watercolor, or washable ink?
All right. If it was used for dip pens, it's not going to be fountain pen ink or washable ink or watercolor. It's got to be India, right?
Yeah. India ink.
Yeah, it's got to be India.
For sure.
Yep. Correct.
Yep.
Due to its viscosity and pH, it doesn't work in all fountain pens. None.
Okay. Tough, rough, and colorful. What kind of paper do you think meets that description? Bond paper, graph paper, carbon paper, or construction paper? Come on, construction paper. They have a picture of construction paper.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, moving on.
Oh, this
is me.
Black.
That's my video.
That's
those are my hands. Drew, those are my hands. Okay, I did not scroll down this far. This is
funny.
Literally... Okay, I got to screen grab this. Whoops.
Oh, God.
Oh, I can't screen
That
grab.
is funny. It says the Goulet Pen Company via YouTube, so they did give you credit.
They did give me credit, but they did not ask me about it. All right,
That's
let's see a
funny.
picture of it.
I saw Noodler's Black, and what is that? That has to be that's a TWSBI vac filler.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
That's so
we
funny.
should definitely know the answer to this one, shouldn't we? A kind of pen made it possible to travel with an elegant pen by plane or carry one without fear of leaking. What was it called? Duh.
Vacuum filler.
Vacuum filling pen. It's my friggin' hands. Wow, that's really funny. I honestly did not know that this was in here when I was vetting this.
That's awesome.
Next one that we have is not my hands, but it's clearly a more modern fountain pen video person. This type of ink flows freely and was thus used by many a student because it obviated the need to constantly have an inkwell at the ready. Come on. Stamp ink, non-photo blue ink, Sumi ink, or fountain pen ink. Come on. It's showing a bunch of bottles of fountain pen. It's fountain pen ink. Duh. Yes, correct. It was a staple in 1953. It was used in many penmanship class, if not elsewhere. Okay.
Wait, hold on.
Used to carry... Huh?
Oh, okay. I thought you were... Are you moving on to the next question?
I'm moving on, yeah. It's fountain pen ink.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's the ink that flows freely that was used by students in 1953.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were reading the next question. I'm like, that's not what mine says. Okay.
No. The next question says, used to carry the bulk of one's things in school, this handy item isn't seen much anymore. What is it? A book strap, knapsack, belt, or book bag?
I always think of 30 Rock when I hear knapsack now with Weird Al's song, remember?
Oh, absolutely.
I dropped my knapsack.
Oh,
All right, I'm going to
absolutely.
go with bookstrap because it literally shows a picture of a bookstrap.
It's a book strap. It's got to be. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Come on, how stuff works. You got to change up your images a little bit. All right, this tool was very useful for performing math functions. What was it? Adding machine, typewriter, abacus, or what is that?
Spaculatus.
Spaculatus? Is that even a thing?
Oh, well, that's definitely the answer to this because it shows a picture of an abacus, but it's clearly a misdirect because spaculatus is the wrong
it's abacus.
answer.
It's abacus.
Yeah, I know.
I just clicked on it.
I know.
I got to look up, is a spaculatus a thing? All right. How many questions are there, Drew? This is too long. Let's make this a last.
No. We're not even halfway done.
All right, we're going to cut it off after this question. All right, this convenience made travel easier, and it meant fountain pens were really only for signing letters.
Oh.
What was it? Highlighter, dip pen, ballpoint pen, or radiograph?
Rapidograph.
Rapidograph, sorry. Rapidograph, yeah. Which is that's like a technical pen.
How fitting that the end of our quiz would also be the end of the fountain pen heyday. But hey, not if we have anything to say about it, right? Still, it's a ballpoint.
Ballpoint pen could leak, but they were far less likely to do so than fountain pens, and they had the added convenience on working well with carbon paper, which made paperwork much easier. Due to these, fountain pens were often relegated to signing letters. Wow, what a bummer of a question to leave out on. Well,
yeah.
I don't know how I feel about you, how stuff works.
Yeah, that was okay.
You steal my videos without permission. You mislead us. You give us the obvious answers, and then you mislead us on others. I don't know.
That could have been better. We may not return to this one.
We may or may not, but you know what?
I do like the idea. I do like the idea of a quiz. I do like the idea of a quiz segment.
I do too. I just need to find a quiz that doesn't suck. You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We have gone super long, so we are going to test all of you who said no. Please go as long as you want, because that's exactly what we've done today. I think because we recorded the segment. Wait a minute. No, we recorded. Yeah, we did record it in 2 segments. Yeah, this is super long. Not only did we botch the first time we recorded it, but then with the second time we went to record it, we didn't have enough battery power to go the full length. So we had to swap batteries in the middle. So then we had to stop and pause, and we took a bathroom break and everything. So it was I have no idea what time it is or what day it is or what direction I am. Who am I even? We've gone so long, I lost all concept of time. The timer that I'm looking at now.
I feel like a good, I don't know if you said it on this one or if it was the first botched recording, but you said I'm not a hot mess anymore. I'm a lukewarm mess.
This has been a lukewarm mess of an episode, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're testing all of you to see your resolve on whether or not you think this is a valid concept of a show. So we're going to find out right now if that's actually the case. So we did pack it full of some fountain pen stuff, but we also packed it in just as much irrelevant stuff and just made it a lot longer of a video. So, let us know what you think if you liked it in video form, and if you ever get a chance to listen to it in audio podcast form, because if I ever get it set up properly, you can let us know if you like 1.5 hour long audio podcasts, because it's like a full-length feature film at this point, and I don't even know what the heck is going on. Let's go ahead and wrap this up, shall we? Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please leave us feedback on how we're doing, and ask us questions so that we can answer them on the show. Be sure to check out gouletpens.com for all of your fountain pen, ink, and paper needs, because that is what helps fund this nonsense and tomfoolery. And like and subscribe us on YouTube, Instagram, and all of the other channels. And leave us 5-star reviews on Apple so that they do not reject our feed for whatever reason, which they didn't give me a reason. If you have questions specifically for the show, you can email us at pencast@gouletpens.com. Yeah, we would love to get some of that stuff. And I'm going to leave you with a random fun fact for this week. The TI-83 calculator, which was the staple of what Drew and I grew up with in school, and they still sell, and it's still $150, Drew, BT dubs, for when your son gets to that point. Oh yeah, they're still there, even though you can do the same thing with your phone. Anyway, the TI-83 calculator has 6 times more processing power than the computer that landed Apollo 11 on the moon. So
that's crazy.
If that now relatively dumb calculator was that powerful, just think of how powerful a modern smartphone is compared to what NASA had at their disposal. So anyway, we're grateful for this technology because it allows us to broadcast total nonsense to you all, and you can stream it onto your TI-83 and watch it. Thanks so much for spending so much time with us this weekend. Hopefully you were not offended and skipped through every 5 or 10 minutes. But if you did, you know what? That's okay, because we're just doing what we do. And that's about all I got. Drew, any wise words as we exit?
Thank you, and I'm sorry.
That's right. Thanks, everybody, and right on.
Bye.